What's up, everybody? Big D coming back at you with another 505 interview series. Welcome. Hope you're all doing well. And of course, before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Helps out, helps the channel, keeps the channel growing. And of course, it's free. You get all this amazing, great content for the free. Can't beat that. Also, make sure you go click the link tree I got pinned in the comment section or down in the description. Go support my advertisers, sponsors, and preferred retail partners. They help continue to keep all the programming going on the show that you know and love. And your support does go a long way, whether you're looking for cigars, you're looking for accessories, I got you covered. Make sure you use the exclusive promo codes only available to my consumers out there to save you some coinage. And of course, I talked about it last week, but the Boutique Cigar, the official retail shop of the 505 Nation. I can't wait to show you what I'm working with Ira and Danielle, and we got a lot of great stuff going on. So, amazing, awesome selection of boutique cigars, small brands, and of course, they carry your big legacy and heritage brands as well, too. He's got some of those exclusive big brand stuff that they charge you like $70-$80 plus in most shops for. He's got them for slightly above MSRP. You better get them before they go away. You don't want to miss that. So go show your support. I'm happy to have Ira on as the official retail partner of the show. And, we're going to be doing a lot of great things. Of course, his boutique customs are just fire, pure fire. I can't tell you enough. I mean, you should go pick them up. Use that promo code BIGD15, save you 15% off of your order when you place it. You can't beat it. Go check it out, theboutiquecigar.com. All right, tonight, my guest. I'm excited to have this dude on. Murica. That's all I got to say. America made, handcrafted in America. He even designed a humidor that went with probably one of the most iconic American cigar brand companies out there. Man, I've been waiting to talk to this guy for a little while. His story is fantastic. And, and if you're looking for a custom built humidor out there, I think this is the guy you need to go talk to. But let's bring him on. Enough chit chat on there. Let's bring on Jason LeGear from Milwaukee Humidors. Welcome, brother. Good to have you on.
Hey, how you doing, Dan?
Good, man. Good. Glad to have you on. And I'll hand it over to you to kind of formally introduce yourself to the people out there.
Oh, man. I liked what you were saying about, the story of America, the story of American manufacturing, because I think about that probably more than most people should. Excuse me. I'm also just getting over a little cough right now. So, my name's Jason LeGear. I am a handmade humidor maker. That's pretty much entirely what I do. I started off by, being a woodworker who focused very heavily on boxes. Actually, I ran an architectural millwork company here in Milwaukee for several years, and really enjoyed it. Lots of problem solving, lots of real cool stuff there. But in the meantime, in my reaction to throwing 14-foot long boards into machines for 12 hours a day was, you know what? I want to work with some more small scale things in my house, in my home shop. Fast forward, I ended up going solo and full time in 2021. I specialize in boxes. There's a million different furniture makers out there, but there aren't too many people who specialize in boxes, and I really enjoy them because you get really into some really interesting design stuff. There's a guy on Instagram. His name is Jeff Bainen. Jeff, Baenen, and he's doing some wild design with boxes these days. But then from a chance meeting I had in 2023, yes, that's correct, 2023, I ended up meeting with Drew Newman and the people from JC Newman, and they proposed to me a challenge. They pulled out a piece of maple tongue and groove flooring and said, this right here is from the 2011 NBA All-Star Game court. Do you think that you could make a humidor out of it? And I said, you got it. and the rest from there is pretty much history. So that was the start of my partnership with the Newmans. I've done 2 large public scale projects with them. I'm working on a 3rd one right now, in addition to a couple more specialized custom things that they've needed every now and again.
That's awesome. That, you know, and it's fitting because when I introduced you there, American made, you know, we've kind of lost that American made manufacturing out there, handcrafting in America, and you do it all. But then to team up with, you know, an iconic American cigar brand like JC Newman, it just brings full circle Murica.
Well, okay, so 2 things. Number 1, my birthday is the 4th of July, so I got an interesting relation. I got an interesting relationship with this country to be, you know, that from the day I was born. But then, yeah, number 2, working with the Newmans has been absolutely incredible. You know, I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of clients throughout the courses of the years, and for them being as large as they are, and, you know, a corporation, things like that, they're the easiest people in the world to work with, and they've really been very good about, you know, within certain parameters. If I got questions, I ask them, they answer me, sort of thing. But they kind of trust me at this point to be able to do what it is I do and make a good, unique product that they're happy to put their name on, and I'm happy to put my name on.
Looks like some of the Milwaukee people are starting to make their way in. P-Row, good to see you, brother. Nice.
Is that a Milwaukee fella?
Yeah, P-Row. Yeah, he is from Milwaukee. All
right. P-Row, put it in the chat where you're from. I want to see. I'm over by the Basilica.
Have other brands come a-calling after they've seen what you've done for the Newmans?
Collins maybe a little bit generous there, I will say. So last year I went to PCA for the first time. I made a whole bunch of good contacts, things like that. I think so much of self-employment really comes down to you making the case for yourself rather than somebody coming and finding you. You know, somebody can come across your things on the internet and say, wow, that's really cool, and then, you know, just cycle to the next tab or whatnot. I think it's really incumbent on me to go out there and, you know, make those connections and say, you know, this is why you want to be doing this. This is why you want to be working with me. This is why you want to have the specific style, the specific design that I bring to this. And it's been decently successful. I am looking forward to going back to PCA this year and continuing to make those connections, because you know better than most, our entire industry is all about connections. You know, it's really okay. Northside Zimmerman Field. Oh, hell yeah, man. It's I don't want to say it's easy to bring a good product to market. Because it's not, but bringing a good product to market, and then you have to tell people why they want that thing. It could be the best thing in the absolute world, but if people don't know about it, then they're not going to have any idea that you exist, and they're not going to have any idea that you're even available to be worked with.
Sure, yeah, that's that. I think that's probably the biggest aspect to a business is people need to know you're out there. But I also see such, you know, for a lot of brands out there, especially with a lot of their higher end exclusive lines, having those custom humidors like what you manufacture. To me, if I had a brand and I had those exclusive high end stuff, I mean, I want to have the sexiest box as possible for it. I mean, I'd have no hesitation calling you up going, look, I need 50 of these boxes for my high end stuff. What can you do?
There's what really separates me is you know, I am a one person operation. There are a couple people that I pull in every now and again to do some of the other tasks with me. But part of being a one man operation is that it all does fall onto you. And you know, when you're talking something, you were talking before in our little pre-interview, talking about how you are Mr. Boutique. Mr. Boutique Cigars, and this is kind of what I offer is a boutique experience for humidors. Humidors are they're functional furniture is what they are. You want to have them displayed in your house. You want to have it be something that really goes along with the rest of your decor, things like that. And you want to make sure that it's exactly what you're looking for, and that's why people come to me. There was a guy down in Texas I worked with last year who some clients, I talk with them one time on the phone. They give me an idea and say, "Hey, this is what I'm looking for. Go for it." This guy down in Texas last year, he and I probably talked on the phone, I think, somewhere around a dozen times. Just making sure he was very particular in what he wanted, and I was sending him pictures and stuff the whole time, and we just kept reconnecting until we got to the end, and he received it, and he sent me a voice memo that went on for probably about 5 minutes or so, just talking about how happy he was and how this is exactly what it was I was looking for, and thank you so much for working with me throughout the entire process. And that's the kind of stuff that I'm able to do as somebody who is, who works with people one-on-one, who is local stateside, and you don't have to send back a dozen emails to China or something like that. Then I'm able to be able to give you that white glove service, while in the meantime, making something that's extremely high, like extremely high quality in terms of craft.
Sure.
We see a lot of people in the cigar industry. They wear their suits, they wear their ties, and their nice button-up shirts and whatnot, and their nice leather dress shoes and such. I am generally covered in blood and sawdust and glue, so I operate from a little bit of a different perspective.
I understand that. Yeah. I don't utilize humidors. Me personally, I use the Tupper doors a lot because I'm in a very arid, dry climate, and humidors just don't perform well. But I do have humidors that I've purchased and as basically like showpieces, art for the house.
Absolutely.
You walk in, you see a humidor. That's what it's that I like. I bought it specifically because I thought it looked good. It was nice. It was beautiful. I loved the woodworking on it. I loved how it was manufactured. I loved the designs. And it's like, no, I bought it for art. I mean, that's plain and simple. It's like, this is an investment. Some people will spend hundreds of thousands of dollars going to an art auction. I'll spend a few $100s on a humidor that will never get used. It just sits on a table and just looks good.
But you're talking about functional furniture. It's something that's part of your aesthetic. It's we all have external ways that we present to ourselves and we present to each other, and the objects you surround yourself come into play in that way. I don't necessarily have an art background. I started out, once I graduated high school, I started out thinking I was going to go into graphic design and completely took a different tack from there. But I was lucky enough to be able to, as an adult in my early 30s, to be able to return to art as something. And that's a high component of what I do in my life now. And I feel very lucky and very blessed for that. Yeah.
Of course. But you're also the ability to manufacture, like you said, boxes seems easy, but they're hard because boxes can come in any shape, size, or form and have to be functional, and they have to have a certain function to them. And it is an art trying to figure out how to make, a trapezoid functional because that's what they want.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Oh, you're talking my language, man. I have a couple of jewelry boxes that I've made that have a very unique, interesting design. And the way I describe myself is I'm a professional mathematician. What I do is I do math all day, over and over again. I think about math way, way too much. And it's not, your crazy things like your trigonometry or whatnot like that, but it's a lot of, very minute scale sort of stuff. When I was working at that, when I was working at the cabinetry shop, the machine I was running, I had tolerances of 200 thousandths of an inch, which I don't know if that means anything to you, sure. but that's essentially the thickness of 2 sheets of paper. Like if I was able to get it within the precision down to that 2 thicknesses of paper, everything's good. And by having that background in really precise, very small, minute numbers, that really has paid off dividends in terms of making humidors where everything really has to fit absolutely perfectly for it to be functional. You know, if you got something that leaks, why even have it at all?
Oh yeah, you know that seal is the, you know, outside of the actual humidor itself, the seal is the most important process of the entire humidor. So
Yeah.
you know, you start letting air in, yeah, you failed.
Yeah, which is why temper doors are such a boon for people in climates such as yourself, or actually, you know, for me in the winter time, it gets extremely dry here. So during the summertime, I keep my cigars in a couple of humidors. You know, my shop is filled with humidors, so I keep them in a couple of humidors I've made. And then for the winter, I always bring them over to Tupper Door. Just that way, it's not going to be as affected by the extremely dry air that we got around here.
Yeah, you know, I when I started in on my journey, I thought that's what you were supposed to have, and so I invested in humidors. And growing up in the desert in New Mexico, you know, it didn't take very long for those humidors to dry out and crack and break very quickly and easy. And I realized I was spending a lot of money, and there's got to be a better way, because there's no way I'm going to be able to keep anything like that sealed properly with, you know, 7% humidity year round.
Yeah. Yeah. And some of that comes down to, you know, you just got to accept with what it is you're dealing with. And, you know, again, my shop gets down to 10% for 4 months out of the year. So while I do feel very confident about my humidors to be able to maintain something close to what I'm looking for, the cigars are expensive. I have a good collection. I want to be able to, you know, and I really don't smoke during the winter because it's so freaking cold in Milwaukee outside. I don't smoke inside. So I want to make sure that everything's going to be ready for me really nicely when I get into, you know, March times like that, and I can go walk the dog and, you know, bring a cigar with me again. And it's just it's the name of the game for whoever. You got to go with what's best for you.
I don't let the cold affect me. I got a Goose Down comforter out here. When it gets negative 40 degrees, I'll be out here freezing. It doesn't deter me. I've done plenty of shows where I'm freezing. It's negative 10 degrees. It's cold, and I'm just like, nah, man, I'm gonna push. I got to push through. Got to bring.
I can't do it.
I gotta bring the people what they need. The people, that's too cold, man. There's no way I can do it. No, the people need to hear Jason's story. They need. I gotta I'm sacrificing for you, the people out there.
That's right. All right, everybody. Give this man the love he deserves.
That's right. I'm out here. Now, I just, you know, when I started researching on you and started reading into your story and started reading articles online that others have wrote about you and what you're doing, I just like, dude, I'm like, man, there's something special about what you're doing, because, you know, a lot of accessory brands and lines out there don't really get any love mainstream wise, and you're doing something special that's drawing the attention of big media out there. And I think that's important, that you're putting out such an amazing service, whether it's to individuals or to companies out there, that you're getting that showcase. And I love it. I think it's great, and I love seeing an American company get that love instead of a company out of China.
Well, you know, the advantage that companies out of China have is that they have scale. They have scale and they have time, and they also, you know, the facilities that they're making these things at are, you know, 5-10 times the size of what mine is. And they have, you know, multiple different employees and such. So that's something that about the largest scale that I can do, or at least the largest scale that I have done at a time, is 50. The one I'm doing right now for the Newmans is 55. And this will be one that's a bit of a blitz. just say it's got to be ready for PCA, and I'm working on it. I'm working on it every single night. I take care of my kid during the day, and then at night I go and drop another 4 or 5 hours or so in the shop before calling it. But being able to work on that small scale means that you can really work on some very interesting projects, things that are not typical. Like I was telling you about the NBA flooring thing. The other project I did for the Newmans last year was I got sent 100 baseball bats from one of the professional baseball teams, and they said, "Hey, can you turn these here into a humidor?" And that was absolutely the most interesting project I've ever had to do. You take a baseball bat. None of this came to me any smaller, but you take a baseball bat, you cut it in half, and then you cut it into a couple dozen thin slices, and then you got to surface those, and you got to do all the math and all that sort of tape and all. I ended up. Do you know what this thing is right here? This is a hand plate. You ever seen one of these?
Yes.
So this is a very old school way of doing woodworking. I don't use them very often, but last year on the bat project, I had to use the plane here to the bats are a round object. They have a round edge. So in order to get them flat to be able to line up nicely, I had to take this thing and somewhere close to 6,000 times just bring it across there. Then flip it over, bring it across there, that sort of thing, until I got that nice flat edge. So that's the sort of project that I can do, and a lot of places can't do it quite that way.
I recommend everybody who's watching go do a Google search and look at that humidor. It is beautiful, and it's made out of baseball bats.
It's made out of baseball bats.
Never know it. Looking at it.
I actually got one right here.
Oh, there you go. Look at that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So this right here, shaped like a home plate.
Yeah.
This right here, this is the logo that was for the Tampa Smokers, which was a baseball team out of Tampa in the early 1900s. So here, I'll show you guys this a little bit. How do I swap this camera? Oh, well. So you can see, so that's all beech wood right there. It's got all your fancy different striations in the wood. Got nice hardwood edging. It's shaped like a home plate here. And then, so I have 2 of these guys remaining right now because there are a couple that I actually messed up. Can you see anywhere that I messed up on this lid?
Yeah, it's not a perfect diamond.
I mean, it's not a diamond. Diamond's got 4 sides.
It's not a perfect home plate. Diamond.
No, it's not a perfect home plate. No, I adjusted the size a little bit to be able to accommodate better, more cigars and actually have function as a humidor better. But the thing is, there's something I can see on this lid, and it's all I see. And general population's not going to see it, but it's one of those things that didn't meet the QC needs for this. So, and then these ones right here, these 2 that I have are unfinished on the inside. You get 100% Spanish cedar that I generally put in there, as well as, a divider, Bovida holders, things like that. So this is just this is what a humidor looks like before you do all the fun stuff to it. So actually, when you're this far into a project, you're actually pretty close to being done with it. Believe it or not.
Look at that. That's so awesome.
Yup.
I just kept going through all the photos. When I Google, because I read the article about it, but they didn't really have any photos. And so I Googled, home plate humidor, and it popped up, and I probably spent 40 minutes just going through all the photos online.
Hell yeah.
And I was just blown away by it.
There's actually, so with each of those guys, they came with a booklet. So I documented my whole process through Instagram, put that up online, and the Newman guys, they actually saved all those pictures and ended up making a booklet that went along with each one of those humidors that they called the Making of Home Plate, where it shows you the entire process from start to finish of what all goes into this. And it was it's like a good 20-page book.
That's insane, man. I love it.
I'll bring that booklet down to PCA and show it to you. So It's pretty cool. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, what you're able to do is magnificent. Like you said, you deal with math. They lost me in math when they started putting letters in it. So
Well, I'll tell you, man, I'm not very good at math, which is why, I mean, everything I do is just it's addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. There's nothing beyond that.
well,
But
I get it. I mean, look, my math teacher in high school told me I was never going to amount to anything because I struggled through it. And then when I was moving equipment at the high school, a few years later on it, she laughed because she's like, there's no way you're going to get that through the door. And I'm using the good old arm tape measure to figure out the geometric angle to get through it. And it went through seamlessly. And I'm just like, no, you just didn't teach me the right way. I'm a hands-on learner. Like if you tried to walk me through what you do, I couldn't do it. But if I physically put
I disagree. I disagree. If you're a hands-on learner, you'd absolutely grasp what it is that I do without a problem.
Well, if I put my hands on it and then you talked me, walking me through the process, I could do it easily. And you don't have to show me once because I would just I get it. But if I didn't have my hands on it and then you said, okay, I'm like, it's a loss. Like I'm a technician, so
sure.
I work in I work out in the trade. I've spent the last 17 years working for Coca-Cola as a field service tech. I fix the equipment, I install the equipment. So I have that background when I'm training in new techs. I remember when I started, nobody showed me anything. They sink or swim method. Either you're good enough to figure it out, or you won't be here. And I found that when I'm training in techs, you do the work. I'll walk you through doing it, but you need to put your hands on it, see how it is, because I don't need to do it and you watch me. I already know what.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You put your hands on it, and then I'll walk you through the process and changing out that pump or putting on how to get this fitting on or to change this part out.
Yeah, absolutely. That's that's definitely the most effective way to learn for, I guess, at least for me. Sounds like for you, I don't know if it is for everybody, but I feel like most people could agree to that.
Well, now they've gone to all this virtual training, and I go, well, that doesn't help.
I'm so glad I don't do any of that.
I want to put my hands on it, and now you're basically telling me to watch a video.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you and I are having like a Zoom meeting thing right now. I'm so glad I really don't have to ever have Zoom meetings. I'm so glad that I don't have to, I work on my computer a fair bit in terms of design, but most of what I'm doing is all hands-on sort of such stuff. And I really feel very lucky on that because I have worked a desk job at an office before and my brain just absolutely atrophied, It was an interesting job, but it wasn't for me. And so, some people are able to do that quite well, and some people, such as yourself and me, no, we got to be active. We got to be doing things in a completely different way.
Yeah, I love being out in the field, and they've had this whole they had this whole training. They have a whole the head of training for Rocky Mountain Division, and that job's been open for over a year, and they keep asking me to apply. I'm like, nah. I like being out in the field still. I haven't hit that point where I feel like I can't cut it in the field anymore. I still want to be out there every day. And also, I don't want to drive to Denver every day.
No. I don't know how far that is away from you, but anything where it's a drive, more than, I don't know, I was going to say more than a half hour. The half hour is even just no driving every day unless your job is to drive.
Oh, yeah. No, 80 miles. It's 80 miles to Denver.
Gross. No, thank you.
With the traffic and getting, it's just a hassle. But, I commute 100.
That's longer than it is from here to Madison. I think that's 70 miles. So, no, thank you. When I worked at the
15 miles every day for work one way.
But that's different. That's because that's you who you're driving to get out to the job sites and such, right?
Well, no, so I'm, I'm based out of the Western Nebraska facility, so my home base is 115 miles away, where I go every day, and then from there I'll head out to wherever I got to go for the day. So that may take me 300 miles away from that place, and when I'm done, now it's a 450-mile drive home.
But you don't do that daily.
Yeah, daily.
No.
Yeah.
Jeez, dude. I can't. No, thank you.
I do anywhere from 12 to 1,800 miles a week.
All right. What time do you leave the house and what time do you get home?
I leave at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I usually get home about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night.
Dang. Wow. Yeah.
And then some days it's like I don't go to the shop when I start my day. I'll start my day from the home, and I may have to leave at 4:30 or 5 in the morning because it's a 3-hour.
You have to.
And I got to be on site at 8 a.m.
What do you listen to while you're doing that? Are you a music guy? Are you a podcast guy? What are you?
I do. I listen to podcasts and sports talk, and because I'm my teenage years were formed in the 90s. I listened to a lot of 90s music, which was the greatest decade of music ever. As a man in his
hey man, I was around in the 90s too. It was fine.
As a man in his 40s, it's I grew up in the 90s. I was a teenager in the 90s. I was, I holds a special place in my heart.
You got a couple of years on me, but I'm not too far behind you.
So yeah, I'm one of those. I'm one of those older millennials. I guess they call us Zennials. We're right on that millennial Gen X line.
Yeah, and I'm right in the middle, so I'm just a regular millennial. I'll be 40 in a little over a year.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, look at me go.
I'm 43, and so I high school, middle school, and high school in the 90s. It was just, it's just how it was, growing up. And when you grow up, you listen to all the music, every type. You have appreciation for all genres. You'd go to a house party and everybody's playing every type of music. It didn't matter what it was. One moment you're jamming out to hip hop, and then everybody's getting down to country, and then a heavy metal song. Like, you just listen to everything. And so, if I put on a 90s station, like, you got me set for the day.
You got a good amount of diversity there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So wait, you had already gotten out of high school when 9/11 happened.
Yes, I graduated that. That June.
That spring. Yeah. I mean, just because that is such a touchstone event for people our age, for our generation, such. That was my freshman year of high school.
Yeah, I remember. And I like that. That's one of those things. I know exactly where I was at, what was going on, and everything.
I think we all do. Yeah.
My stepbrother worked for United Airlines, and he was always on the go. And, my mom was just frantic because she couldn't get a hold of him, didn't know if he was on one of those planes.
Sure.
And it, it was there. Like, I had just woken up too, right after that first plane hit the building, and my mom was like, "Oh yeah, the plane." I go, "Well, was it an accident?" And she's like, "They don't know yet." And so I'm watching TV with her, and right when that second plane hit, and I was like, "Oh!"
And everybody went, "No, that wasn't no accident.
This was no accident." Yeah, you
yeah.
know,
I'm sure you've heard Howard Stern. Howard Stern was live while that was happening, and like there's archive audio of him up on live, or up online, just having him having like live reactions. Mr. Rollins, sophomore year for you at high school. I'm not actually from around here. I moved up to Milwaukee in 2011, and then I went to UWM, and then I had a couple years stint overseas in Germany for a couple years, and then I moved back in 2014. So I'm actually originally from outside of Chicago. So sorry, no North Division on my end.
There you go.
Yep.
You asked me about the Bears head, so I take it you are a Bears fan, being from outside of Chicago. Are you?
I don't give two shits about football. I'm so sorry. You know, it's fine. I care. I tried to when I was younger. I tried to like make myself care about it, and just like nobody in my family is super duper into it. Now, you were talking about being, you know, a teenager in the '90s and stuff. I'll tell you, in the '90s in Chicago, huge Bulls fan. I and everybody that I knew in my cohort, you know, the Bears sucked at that point, but the Bulls were absolutely destroying stuff. So it was really difficult to like exist in the '90s period and not be a Bulls fan, and especially in Chicago. But as it stands now, I'm a huge Brewers fan. My wife turned me onto Brewers pretty hard when we first met. So
we drove in 90 and during the Bulls 10 loss season in 97. We drove from New Mexico to Denver to the Bulls Nuggets game to watch the Nuggets hand one of their 10 losses for the year.
Oh, nice.
We drove 6 hours to Denver just so we could go watch that game. And then drive back because we had to be at school in the morning because it was like a Tuesday night game.
But that's one of those experiences that you get to say. You get to say, I saw. Not only did I see, you know, the '97 Bulls play, but I got to watch them lose.
I got to watch.
And there aren't very many people who got to watch them lose that year.
Yeah, and it was great. It was like, you know, a friend's mom somehow got tickets. So all the 6 of us went to. She drove the 6 of us up to Denver for that game. We had a blast, and then we had to drive all the way back. We get back home. It's like 3:30 or 4 in the morning, and we had to be at school at 8:00. It was
worth it.
Totally worth it. I mean, we're completely useless, which I probably was through most of high school anyway, completely useless, but that was really completely useless. Okay, so you're a Brewers fan. They had the best record in baseball last year.
They had the best record in baseball last year up until the postseason, and I will tell you, I'm not mad that we lost because there's some pretty good teams out there, but I'm so glad we beat the Cubs. Man, Cubs fans, oh my God, you want to throw them all through the window.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my God, yeah. So I'm just glad we didn't lose to the Cubs. And then I will say, so then we went to and played the Dodgers after that and got absolutely creamed by them. But that final game that we lost in the series, where Shohei Ohtani got what was he struck out. He had a 5 inning no hitter, and then hit something like 4 home runs on his own. That's incredible. Like, I'm not mad about losing to somebody like that. That person's a generational talent. Like, you know, it would be like, again, like losing to the Bulls in '97. You see somebody cream you that hard while playing the game as well as they are, you can't be mad about it.
No, hey, he is a very special talent out there. As much as they're pushing now the dual player role and some of these young guys coming up, I don't think anybody will ever top or match what he can do. No doubt.
There's nobody out there who's able to pitch, you know, who's able to throw 100 miles and then also, you know, run across the line and then put on the batting helmet and then just knock dingers. Nobody's able to do that. And so it's really cool to be able to watch somebody be that good of an athlete in the sport that they do.
Yeah, it is it's very special. I played baseball when I was there. I was drafted in the 33rd round by the Seattle Mariners.
Oh, congratulations!
And I opted not to continue. I was like, I don't think so. My dad really wanted me to so bad. And I was like, nah, I can't. it came with a $2,500 signing bonus, and I had to pay my own way to some small town in Mississippi. And I was like,
and you know what? It sounds like you had enough foresight at that point to already go, I enjoy this. I'm good at it. I ain't that good at it. And there's something to be said for having that kind of realization.
Well, I played in a high school showcase game in Coors Field, which was an amazing experience. My dad, I hit a home run in that game, and I watched my dad run to go get that ball, and
hell yeah,
he kept that ball. It's still, my mom has that ball sitting on top of sit on top of the chest that his ashes are in. That's like the one thing, like my dad just, he loved watching me play baseball, and he was so sad when I chose not to do it anymore. Mind you, this guy who, when he would coach me, would pitch to me and bean me with a ball. That's
sounds like you and your dad have a very different relationship than me and my dad.
So yeah, but that was, he would show that ball off to everybody. He didn't care whether you cared or not. He'd show that ball off to everybody. He would just,
that's awesome.
I'd hit this home run in Coors Field.
Hell yeah, man. Did you remember what the distance you got on that was? 300 something?
Yeah, so it was left center field. I think it was 362.
I mean, I couldn't do that. So hell yeah, absolutely. That's good.
Look, I never thought I'd get drafted to begin with. I was just like, oh.
And that's certainly a big accomplishment.
But my dad's like, that there have been guys that were drafted later than you and had Hall of Fame careers. And I'm like, yeah, not many. He's like, Mike Piazza. I was like, that's a different animal right there. All right. I'm not.
You want to talk about somebody who's the top of his sport sort of scenario.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know he got drafted that late.
Yeah. Mike Piazza. Yeah. He was in the 55th round.
I didn't even know they went into the 50s in terms of rounds.
Yeah. I think they had 58 or 60 rounds up until the mid 2000s, and then they dropped it down to 40, and now it's 13.
That makes more sense
on it. So, but having like these independent league balls out there, like, like the Pecos League and the Banana Ball, if I was coming up now with something like that, that would be more of an option. I would probably take the route on is going with like the independent ball or the Banana Ball, one of those.
Yeah.
The games still have fun, but yeah, you're still, playing that opportunity out there to play.
Banana Ball is really polarizing. Some people love it. Some people absolutely hate it. But I don't think I found anybody who's like kind of in the middle of like, oh yeah, that's fine sort of scenario.
I like it. I find the baseball.
I like having fun. I like having fun, You're having a good time.
Baseball purists hate it, and everybody else who's not a purist likes it. So the purists are in the minority. It's the same people who complain about now having the DH in both leagues. I'm like, oh, who cares? I don't want to see my pitcher get hurt swinging at a ball 10 feet outside. Okay, I don't.
Well, your pitcher should not be swinging at a ball that's 10 feet outside, but that's a different issue entirely. Actually, I'll tell you, I'm cool with the DH. One thing that I don't like, though, is I don't like the pitching clock. I love going to a game, and, there are people who, you go to a game these days, and you get people who are just sitting on their phones the whole time. Like, I will absolutely watch the game and be, like, engrossed in what's going on. There's a whole psychological aspect going back and forth between the pitcher and the batter and such. And I feel like the pitching clock, it does tighten it up, but, like, I think it adds a little bit of a rush to it that wasn't there previously. And like, I love a good 4.5, 5 hour game. I don't need to be like out of there in 2 hours. This is what I'm trying to do with my day.
I did. I went to a Rockies game last year, and it was 2 hours and 25 minutes. And I was just like, well, I kind of carved out like half the day, and now what am I supposed to do with the rest of my day?
Yeah.
One of the few games the Rockies, by the way, one of the few games the Rockies won last year. So, yay, you know.
I mean, you guys had a better record than the Sox did, so. Oh, the poor Sox, but you know what? You gotta love them. They're at least doing. They're doing well in the sense of like, they're losing, but they're still going on. They ain't giving up.
Well, I'm just, I'm a glutton for punishment, I guess. But they're my team. I support them. They are my, good, bad, ugly, or indifferent. I'll still support them. It's been a rough few years, and that's what you get when you have probably the worst ownership in all of sports, who owns the team, and rampant incestuous nepotism that runs rampant in a front office. And so, it is what it is.
That's something that just bothers me, is just there's so much of that these days where, everybody's just essentially reaching around and giving each other little squeezies, and then talking to us as the people, just being like, all right, monkey dance. You're going to get what I give you, and you're going to be happy about it, sort of thing. Yeah. Meanwhile, yeah, like you said, all the nepotism and so on and so forth, and then that can go for absolutely any industry. It's just with sports, it's just that much more in front of you.
Well, I was at Walmart this morning, and they redid the Walmart. And they took out the bullpen that they had all the self-checks in. It was fast and efficient. And then they spread it all out. So now they have this big, huge, long area of self-checkouts. But they only have like a total of 8 check lanes open because they don't have enough staffing to cover all the self-checkouts all the way down.
Sure.
So, they took away something that was efficient and worked well to go to something that was inefficient, because that's what they want. But now
you know why they want that. You know why they want that. It's because then you don't have to pay somebody. It's easy.
I just.
Are you I'm assuming because you're a technician, I'm assuming you're not union.
No, we're a non-union plant. It's not that I'm against it. It's just,
That's just how you guys. Yeah, I mean, there's you guys just don't operate as a union. I get you.
Yeah, no, there are service centers out there that are. We're just not one of them.
You can always start one. You can always join it.
There's been a lot of things that make me, I wish that would have, but I also know that, I also know the ramifications that come with those types of things. And, but if it is something that is brought up and something that they would want, because you would have to condense it down probably to multiple different sales centers: Colorado Springs, Denver,
sure,
Fort Collins, Cheyenne, Wyoming, Scottsbluff, Nebraska, all as one.
Sure. And I mean, that's a big issue of, what's going on with some of the Amazon delivery drivers and stuff right now, making pushes to unionize their facilities, or Starbucks, things like that, making pushes to do that, because it's all piecemeal. It's this location's unionized, this location's unionized, but not the whole thing. And I think that sort of divide and conquer strategy is something that really factors into the people who are in charge of things, people who own the things. Them being able to split everybody apart brings everybody down, and that's something that I wish that that more people would be able to recognize.
I'll say this about Coca-Cola. You know, a big complaint a lot of us had was that it took me years to get to where I was at pay wise, and now you're starting brand new
Yep.
people green
Yep.
off slightly below what it took me years to make. And they went
Yep.
back and they did go back and they have made a lot of corrections to payroll for a lot of long-term employees like me that
They
started out
better have.
at the bottom of the barrel that took me 15 years to get to and pay that they're now starting somebody off at. So they
Sure.
have
Yeah,
made, they
absolutely.
have gone back and they have made right on that with a lot, you know, and so that I appreciate that they did. That was one of the few things they actually listened to the employees about, which is I understand that you got to have for competitive pay to get people in, but now you're offering people a pay at almost what I make, and I've been here for 15, 20 years.
Yeah, and that tends to put a bad taste in people's mouths, and if it doesn't make you cynical, then it certainly has negative pressures on you.
It's there. Plus, the profit sharing bonuses that Coke offers out are only available to non-union employees. So, getting a big cut of that.
Oh, sure. Sure, because that's a disincentivization. That's a disincentivization to be in a union. Oh, well, we're not going to share this with you, buddy. If I'm not the one providing the work, you don't have profits to begin with.
Exactly. And again, I'm not anti-union. I'd have no problem with it.
I know you're not.
If it was something that came up and something that they were wanting to institute, I would totally sign on for it. By all means, I would.
I'll tell you. So that cabinetry shop I worked at had they had a method of making sure that people weren't able to make too much money there. And that was they poached me from another company, and I started out at a higher rate, basically what I was making at that other company. And this was, in 2014, 2015. So, $20 an hour goes a lot further back then at that point. But this is skilled trained labor, and I hired on this one guy on my crew, and he was making $13 an hour. And he was operating a forklift. He essentially, my boss told me that since we'd hired him on, our efficiency's up by 20%. And I kept telling him throughout the course of the couple of years that guy worked there, I was like, you got to pay this guy more. You got to pay this guy more. You're being a joke about this. And this boss, I really respect him, because he and I would get in shouting matches at each other. But we would always maintain a very professional relationship. I know I'm doing it for my crew. He knows he's doing it for the company, that sort of thing. But what they did was they had this series of okay, if you get trained up on these tasks, you can make an extra blah, blah, blah per year. If you get trained up on these things, you can make an extra so much a year, that sort of thing. Well, for somebody like me who has to operate the entire plant, that makes a whole lot of sense. This guy, he was driving a forklift, taking lumber out of the racks, putting it up on the ripsaw, cutting it on the ripsaw. And that's what he did for 10, 12 hours a day. And I kept telling my boss, you've got to be paying this guy more, or else he's gonna dip out of here. And he kept saying that we have this method, we have this thing that we do in order to get people higher wages. None of this other stuff here has anything to do with what he does. So what you're doing here is you intentionally have a system that's going to be there to pay this person less, while we're increasing our efficiency by 20%. You people are out of your goddamn minds. And that's the sort of stuff that makes me so absolutely angry. I ended up leaving in 2021, and 2020 hit, COVID hit, everybody else shut down. We ramped up to 12-hour days. And he'd been there for a couple of years, and he was there for another 6 months after that, and for me, for a lot of us who were working at that point, it was just you work and you go home, you work, you go home. And this guy kept getting so frustrated. He's like, I'm not doing anything else with my life right now, and I'm getting paid pennies, and nobody's, paying attention to this stuff. So he ended up, going and joining the plumbers, and he's doing great. And we lost somebody on our crew who was absolutely fantastic. And I wish that a lot of people who own small businesses would have a lot more foresight to things like that, instead of just always, this person's doing an absolutely incredible job, I should be paying something to retain him. Like $13 an hour to be performing like very skilled labor. Again, this is 2014, 2015 is a joke.
Yep. Yeah. I remember, spent during that COVID time where, again, I'm essential personnel, so I have to be out there, but I also have to be out there in the field. I have to be out there with the people in the restaurants, jammed in with everybody else at a time when they say you're not supposed to. And when we brought up hazard pay, Coke's response was to give us gift cards to grocery store and not hazard pay. And I go, what good is that going to do me out there? Why can't we why can't the frontline people that actually have to be out there get that? Why? Because the desk jockeys complained that it wasn't fair. Well, you can do your job from home. I can't do my job from home. I have to literally, if I could do my job from home, I would, but I can't. I can't fix a piece of equipment from sitting on my couch. I can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, and you know what? In so many different ways, you can't fix the corporate system if it's already broken. But that's a different story. I mean, I guess, circling back to the work that I do, like, every time I got to hire somebody on for a project, I'm always hiring on people that are very skilled at what they do, or if it's not something that's super skilled, we have a college around here that I try to find an intern. But even the interns that I hire, man, I'm paying them $15 an hour because their time is worth it. It's valuable to me, it's valuable to them, and they could be doing anything else with their time. And if I've been in college and I went and put in a couple hours somewhere, somebody paid me $45, $60, something like that, hell yeah, man, that's beer money. You better believe I would appreciate that a little bit more. And of course, anytime I hire on somebody who's like manual skilled labor, they certainly get a bit of a different shakeout there. But I think it's really important to, and again, this is something I probably shot myself in the foot on a few times, of, not necessarily focusing on the bottom line. Okay, how do I maximize all my profit? That's certainly something that I consider, but it's also something to, if you have a community involved in, production things like this, then you want to make sure that you keep that community going. Somebody's going to hire you for something. You're going to hire somebody else for something. Oh, hey, would you be able to go grab this skid of material for me? It's up by you. Okay, yeah, that sort of thing. And just by scratching each other's backs, we get so much further than by trying to play each other off one another.
Sure. I think that you've developed this. You've developed this repertoire for your uniqueness and your ability of what you've been able to build and make, like building a humidor out of baseball bats, to working with the Newmans. And I think you're a testament of American ingenuity and that American entrepreneurship that is always talked about, but is rarely seen by a lot of people out there that tout that. And I think that's true. And then when you bring in people, you understand the value of work and the value of work, because you've been that guy, you've been that grunt, you understand it, and it only makes what you do better.
I wouldn't I wouldn't ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do. Here, you want to see a couple things I made?
Yeah, man, love. Show them off to the people out there.
All right, yeah. So, all right. So this is a humidor I made a couple of years ago. It's still one of my favorites that I've ever made. How the hell do I swap the? I swap the videos. Front facing, camera 2 facing back. There we go. All right, so this is one of my favorite humidors I have ever made. And this is a pretty standard size, I call this like a 75-90 count sort of scenario. So you got your Bovida holder, you got your hygrometer, and then interior is all Spanish cedar, things like that. I do my Bovida holders a little bit different these days. I do them on laser. I make them branded for my own humidors at this point. But like I said, this guy's a couple years old. And so this right here is a large part of my style. I work on a lot of geometric design with very interesting woods, things like that, a lot of contrast. And so this right here is zebra wood, babinga, walnut, and holly. And I really like just the way that these guys all, come together. And you can take a look here at the edges, goes all the way around the edges. It looks like it's solid wood. That's not solid wood. So this right here, this is all veneer. And part of what I do, part of what makes me, a high-level craftsman is being able to take things and just line them up like that. Thank you, Joshandria. But being able to line things up like that so that you get just a perfect match. And that's, again, where talking about how, I'm very used to be working in thicknesses that are the size of 2 sheets of paper. And so that's where all that sort of different play comes into. So that's something I really enjoy. And then the thing that actually I brought to market, and the thing that I'm really trying to push for is, there's a ton of different humidors out there. And these guys right here, a lot of humidors are really big, 150 count, something like that. These guys right here are what I call the modern dry box. And so this is something that's a lot smaller. You can see here, there's a can for size. They're somewhere between 8 and 10 cigars, depending on your vitola. But they work really well as dry boxes. They're 100% the exact same thing as a full-size humidor. They're just a lot smaller. So people can use them here to dry box their cigars and have them out on a desktop or, integrated in the house as furniture without having them be, these giant pieces. Also, again, functioning with this nice design. This guy right here's blue and holly and black. Really happy with the way that this guy turned out. And here's another one. So that's all wood. So we call this marquetry. That's inlay. I'm really inspired by the designs of a Russian artist named Vasily Kandinsky, who's primarily known back in the 30s, the 20s, 30s, early 40s, and just being able to play along with, color and form and line and design, things like that. That's something that really, really inspires me and something that I'm extremely, lucky to be able to do for a job.
So she's got a question here. She wanted to know, do you do engraving on the wood? Because she wants to get her moniker on there.
My friend, I do it all.
There you go.
I can do engraving. So for instance, like this guy right here, that's an engraving of my previous business name. But for instance, too, one of the other things I can do is I can actually do inlay of your name. If you got an idea of, hey, I like, if I want to have, my name inlaid in wood, something like that, that's absolutely something I do. Stogie Hub, Steve Mann. I recently did a modern dry box for him that was his podcast logo. And if you're on Instagram, I highly suggest going and checking that out. That's stogie.hub, because you can see it. It's really, really nice. Shows some excellent woods to like some walnut burl to mimic the wrapper of a cigar. I don't know. It's something I'm really, really proud of, and I love doing things like this. Anything that's a very unique project, I'm always down to do.
Do you like working with exotic woods?
What do you mean by that?
Like some of the exotic woods out there that are harder woods to work with, like Purple Heart and black wood, things like
Pur-
that.
pur- Purple Heart sucks to work with because it smells like shit. It eventually turns like a weird gray color. That sucks. But like hold up. Let me go grab something real quick. There's all kinds because I work in so much veneer. You know, instead of working in a solid board of wood, you can really do all kinds of interesting things. You can find things that are very, very unique and have them do stuff. Now, what I'm about to show you is something that's not going to translate in a video setting. It never does. But this right here, I don't know if you can tell that or not. You see how glinty that is? Yeah, you can kind of tell.
Yeah.
This is a natural kind of wood. I've only seen this one time. I called up the guy who owns the sawmill that this log came from to see if I could get some more. He said he'd just run out of it. He'd been working at that sawmill, fourth generation owner. In the 60 years he'd been there, he'd only seen one log like this. But this right here is a kind of African walnut, and I'll be bringing it with me to PCA, but it is as gold as your wedding ring. And I don't know how else to describe it there. You looking at it over a camera is never going to be able to showcase it. So you'll have to see it in person, and your jaw is going to drop. You're going to go, that's wood? So when you're talking about exotic things, there's all kinds of unique things out there, and things that are super duper unique often get turned into veneer. And if you work with things like that, like I do, then you just have an entire different range of possibilities that are open to you.
Yeah. That's awesome.
It does take a specialized skill set, though. Like, learning how to veneer things is a completely different process, and I have ruined a lot. I've ruined a lot of things in the learning process.
But that's the only way. But that's kind of the only way you learn, though, is going through that process. The trials, tribulations, the ups, the downs, the failures. It only makes when you get it right that much better.
Yeah, and you get to a point where you don't have to think about it as much. What's the thing? I'll give you guys an exclusive sneak peek here on the thing I'm working on right now, as soon as I can find it. So, there it is. So this right here is. So here's a map of the United States, and each of the states is made out of the wood that's from that state's state tree.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, and so this is all okay. So right now, this is it's taped up. The tape is how you attach things together. You glue it, and that sort of whatnot. And so it's all taped up as a board of veneer right now. Then it gets glued down. You take off the tape, and that's going to be the lid. But this is for a special project that I'm working on with the Newmans now that you'll be seeing at PCA this year.
Have you met with Ernie from Family by Loyalty Cigars and seen his woodwork that he does with the ashtrays and the cigar pipes that he makes out of wood?
I can't say I have. Do me a favor. Send me a link to that on Instagram, would you?
Yeah, I can.
Awesome. Yeah.
He does such amazing, beautiful work out there, because there's a lot of people that make the cigar pipes, but they're plastic. He makes them out of wood, and he went through all the trials of finding wood that would hold up to the heat of a cigar and not crack or break.
What did he end up, do you know what he ended up going with?
And he has a few different types out there. But
I was going to say something like briars generally. If you're talking about like pipes and whatnot, briars generally what people go for.
So yeah, so he makes the cigar pipes out there. So that and the only one out there that's wood that's not plastic.
There's another guy who does something broadly similar. But he's like a professional pipe maker. I think he makes those the cigar pipes every now and again. But he does primarily pipes. Are you a pipe guy or are you just a cigar guy?
I used to dabble in pipes a whole lot more than I do now. I used to, I still have a pipe out here that I use. Back in the day if it was a really good cigar, when I get down to that nub, I would
pop it right in there.
I would pop a nub in my pipe and finish it off.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who do that.
Yeah, I don't do it so much now, but I used to back in the day.
You were talking about how you've been really into Connecticut broadleaf stuff over the past year. What attracts you about that wrapper style?
Well, this year I don't know what it is. My palate is ever changing. Now 25 years into smoking. I find something and then it just sits right at the moment. So then I start getting
Yeah.
into it. 2024, like 2024 is like the year of the barber pole. Like I was just huge into barber pole.
Nice.
And I never really been like a big barber pole guy, but I really got into barber poles. So, every year it's just something different that I found myself in. I was big into to start 2025 off with. I was big into Mexican tobaccos, not San Andreas, the other tobaccos out of Mexico. So I was on a
Right.
journey to find out that, and then that kind of morphed into broadleaf as I got later into the year. So that it's just I can't really tell you why I'm into broadleaf so much now recently. It's just where my palate's sitting at the moment. It's just what it
I'll
is.
tell you. Last year was the year that I discovered Connecticut Shade. Finally, everybody starts out with cigars, and a lot of people start out with like the Drew Estate Undercrown shade or the Perdomo tent, things like that. And that's kind of how I started out too. It was like, it's not really for me, sort of thing. And I ended up continuing on with it. And I'll be honest, the Undercrown shade and the Perdomo still not my favorites, but so I put those to the side for several years. I got really into Cameroonian tobacco. The Don Carlos is the an absolute pinnacle of a cigar. The Caldwell, the Queen is Dead. Those guys in Lancero are absolutely out of this world. What else? All sorts of different things. But then this last year was the first year that I really like. After smoking cigars for 6-7 years at this point, I decided, okay, I'm gonna. And actually, it happened at PCA. Matilde.
Fantastic cigars.
You know what? I went there. I met up with not Ernesto. Why am I blanking on his name? It's Enrique. I met with Enrique. He gave me a sampler of his cigars, and that Matilde Serene. It changed my idea of what a Connecticut shade wrapper can be. That, and then at the same time, I started. I smoked a High Clear Castle Edwardian by Foundation, and that was just out of this world too. And then I had my first Davidoff. And so all three of those things at the same time just kind of boom, 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 that sort of scenario, and made me realize, like, okay, Connecticut shade tobacco isn't this bland, flavorless thing that you thought it was previously. It's very nuanced. If you get the right blends of it, it's very, very nuanced. And so I've really been enjoying going down that rabbit hole, and it helps that I smoke a lot of cigars in the morning, and I do it with a cup of black tea, and that goes together with Connecticut wrappers real, real well.
I do enjoy good Connecticut shade out there. It's one of those wrappers that really relies, as a wrapper, relies very heavily on binder and filler to bring out the flavor. But it's also such an underrated binder because it really shines when it really shines when it's the binder with like San Andreas or Pennsylvania broadleaf. It really shines. Like you really get a lot of those nuances where you would think, well, those are rather heavy wrappers out there. It's gonna wipe a lot of that out, but doesn't it blends in perfectly when you get the blend of that filler perfect with it. You just get this total harmonious look, and it's wonderful. I love from Dapper, when you talk about shade, La Madrina is one of my favorite Connecticut shade sticks from Dapper. I just
Hell yeah.
that was, I had stayed away from shade stuff for a long time, and that was the cigar that kind of brought me back to the shade, bringing me back to the shade, was smoking that cigar, because I was like, I'm not a huge fan, but I'll smoke it. I'll give it a shot. And I was like, dang, this is
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah. It's one of those things that I think it's probably the hardest one to do particularly well. It's probably the easiest one to do, period, but the hardest one to do like super duper well, because you can take a Maduro wrapper or like MSA, something like that, and that's going to provide so much flavor to the rest of the cigar that you can kind of lean more heavily on that. But then if you have something that's got the Connecticut shade wrapper to it, then it's got to be a much more harmonious balance to work really well. And your master blenders are doing things like that, and really pushing it in very interesting ways, like that High Clear Castle, the Edwardian. That thing is now maybe one of my top 3. It's something else.
Everything High Clear Castle has just been fantastic, I found.
I don't like the Victorian though. The Victorian, it's for my palate, it's
okay.
For my palate, it's a little bit too rough. I don't know what it is, but like just having that nice light thing to it. I actually, I have 5 of the well, I guess not 4 now, but I had 5 of the Victorians left in Humidor, and I tried one the other week after not having it for a couple of years, just to be like, okay, it's been a couple of years. Let's see how this has changed. Let's see how I've changed, and still it wasn't for me.
Yeah, I'll never pass up anything Cameroon. I'll always go. That's just it's been a staple of my cigar diet for a long time. Is any Cameroon? Like back in the 2008, the Opus X, double Oscuro, and that was a Oscuro, African Cameroon Oscuro wrapper with a Dominican Cameroon Oscuro binder.
Wow, that sounds very unique.
It was so fantastic, and Carlito made 3,000 of them. That was all that was available, and in 2008, it cost $35, which was a lot of money back then. Now,
yeah, I'm sure it'd be at least double that at this point.
Well, so now on some of the third-party websites that sell some of those rare sticks, you're lucky if you can get one now for $500 for just one.
Sheesh.
Just because there was only 3,000 made, so it was very limited.
Well, sure. So every time you smoke one, there's one less out there. Absolutely, I get it.
And I bought a 5-pack from my local shop back in 2008 when they came out, and I have one that's in my collection piece, one that I'm just not going to smoke, but it was one of those very special cigars that I'm like, it's so incredibly rare. I saw the 2008 though, I think was the year of the rare cigar that came out, because so many brands put out so much rarity then that because as I look back at some of my collection sticks, I'm like, that was a 2008 release. That was a 2008 release. It was like the year.
What makes a stick a collection cigar versus like a smoking cigar?
So stuff that's rare, that a lot of it's single drop. So if you didn't get it when it came out, you're really probably not going to get it now. It's rare, and it was rare and memorable for me, so that's kind of what I keep in a collection. I'm never going to smoke it, but I'm going to hold on to it and keep it, because they're nice cigars to have,
it's very unique.
Yeah, it's unique. You'll never find that double Oscuro out in the wild ever.
I mean, in terms of like, you're never going to find that specific cigar, but also like that double Oscuro, like an Oscuro Cameroonian leaf. There's nobody out there doing anything like that. Even Carlito's not doing anything like that these days.
Yeah, so nobody, so that was just one of those unique things out there. Davidoff did the Presidente in 2008, and that, and those cigars were $80 a piece then when they came out, and they only made 1,000 of them. I was gifted two by a friend who bought 2 boxes of 8. So he kind of, there wasn't like that many out there. So he bought 2 boxes. He gifted me 2. I smoked one, and I have one in the collection. Again, it's one
Yep.
of those rare ones. You're just never gonna find them.
Yep. I mean, that's really a nice thing about cigars as a hobby and the cigar world in general is just there's a lot of generosity out there. People are very interested in sharing with each other. What they have. You develop relationships, and people are always more than happy to be very generous with their products that they have.
Yeah, and then I have cigars that I have special occasion cigars, and I'm not one that hoards stuff. I'm one that thinks they are meant to be smoked. And so I do have stuff though that I have kept that, when the occasion's right, I'm gonna light it up. I had
Sure.
one of those I got invited to the Fuente party at PCA in 2022, and they only 100 people got a special cigar that Carlito made. It's 13 different tobaccos in it. All 13 tobaccos he doesn't really ever use in anything that he manufactures, so it's really rare. And I said, this is a special cigar. I got to keep it. I'll know when to smoke it. The time will be right. And and then when my dad passed in August, I was like, this is the time to smoke this cigar. This is a
Gotcha.
special, because I'm like, I know how much family means to Carlito, and I know how much his dad meant to him, and I know how much my dad meant to me. And so
Yeah.
I think this is the perfect cigar to smoke for this occasion, because nobody has it. Only 100 people got that cigar. How many still have them that are out there? And I know I'm like one of the few that probably had one. So I lit it up and smoked it, and it was amazing.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, man.
It was an amazing cigar. So yeah, I have some of those cigars sitting in the humidor. Like, I'll know when to smoke it. Like the sign will be there that tonight's the night you got to smoke this cigar, and I'll light it up.
Nice. Was your dad a cigar smoker too?
My dad was not a person who was big. He was very anti-tobacco. However, when I started creating content and doing content, my dad was my biggest fan. He watched everything I would do. He would comment, or he would critique how I would say something. He was my biggest fan. And this was a guy who was very anti-tobacco. And towards the end there, when I went to go visit him, and he was sitting on the patio with me while I was smoking, and he was taking a couple hits off of what I was smoking, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. I'm getting to share. I'm getting to share a cigar with my dad. I was like,
That's
that's
great, man.
a great experience. Yeah. So
That's
I enjoy.
that's so good.
Yeah. So again, I think they're meant to be smoked, and
I
I'll
agree.
smoke it. I'll smoke it if it is smoked, but I do have some special occasion cigars that are rare that I know once I light it, they're never gonna get one. There's never again am I gonna be able to smoke one, but it's there, and I know that some sign will be out there to tell me tonight's the night you got to smoke it, and I will.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. Somebody comes up to you. Somebody comes up to you and says, "I've never smoked a cigar before, but I'd like to try one." What would be like 3 that you would give to a new person?
Padron 2000 Natural.
Okay.
Not something that's going to be overpowering to the palate, but has flavor that just pops. And you know, and it's a great stick for anybody who loves to smoke cigars.
Oh
I think.
my god! I mean, you can't compete with Padron. Just puts out so good of a product. It's insane.
Yeah. So it's not going to be. It's not overpowering, but you're going to get such amazing flavors out of that cigar that Yeah, that's one cigar I would recommend off the bat to somebody if they wanted to smoke. Yeah. Um, you know, Oliva Series G Cameroon, I would recommend. Again, another cigar that's not overpowering, but it has such different and unique flavors that you're not going to pick up from a lot of other cigars.
And it's one that gets forgotten about constantly. Now, you and I are talking. You and I are talking the exact same language when it comes to Cameroon wrapper. Like I absolutely love Cameroon stuff, and those Series Gs, they're completely forgotten,
Yeah.
and they're extremely good.
Yes. And Chris, he just hit on one. I was at the Blue Bonnet from Rojas. Another one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
The Blue Bonnet is it again not not overpowering. I'm not overpowering, but you get such a different and unique experience out of anything Rojas puts out. So
Yeah, so true.
the Angelique from Principal, yeah, sure, not my favorite cigar that Principal puts out, but I could see that.
I'm a big fan of the Martinique. Those are very unique.
Yeah, yeah. The other one now, if this was back in the day when I started smoking, I would probably the last one I'd probably recommend and put out there would be the Camacho Connecticut, back when Christian owned Camacho before he sold it to Davidoff.
Yeah.
That would be the one I'd put out because that was the first time I ever tasted butter in a cigar.
Hell yeah.
I was just like, this tastes like a warm, buttery roll in my
mouth. You get that oily, unctuous coating. Yeah. Oh, I know what you're talking about, right there. That's what I really like about the Serena. The Matilde is like that's what I get from that. It's a very buttery sort of scenario.
Yes, and it's like now if you smoke that Camacho Connecticut now, it doesn't have that. It's just not there. But that cigar was so unique. And it was like the first time I had. Like people told me, oh, it's very creamy, buttery. There's like a, it's got a very like toasty there's like a toast taste. And when I smoked it, I was just like, boy, this is like a buttery roll. Is what it just the way it sat on my palate and the way I'm like, oh my, it was so good.
Yeah, I like how emotional you're getting.
Oh yeah, it was yeah. It bringing back memories of a cigar that haven't smoked in 20 years because you just Christian doesn't own it anymore. But yeah, those are probably three I put out there. The Padron, the Oliva, and the Rojas would be the three I would probably recommend to somebody who's never smoked. Not going to overpower them, but they're going to get three different unique experiences on their palate.
And they're all going to be enjoyable ways to start.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And they're both, all three also very affordable sticks, so you're not going to break the bank with any of them.
Certainly not.
And they're
very cool, man.
They're great starter sticks, and they'll get you hooked on a pack that you probably don't want to be on.
Yeah, I mean, every couple months, you know what? I'm being a good boy right now. I've been on a buying freeze since Black Friday, and I haven't bought anything since. So that's good, which is really good because I have such a backlog of stuff to work through. What was it? There's somebody I was making a humidor for, and they smoke primarily Cuban cigars. And they were like, oh, I'll give you some of these next time I see you. It's like, I would appreciate that. I would love it. But I already have such a backlog to go through that, you giving me cigars at this point just puts that more into my backlog. Like, don't waste your Series Ds on me. Like, just I got enough shit to smoke.
I said this in an interview once. I go, it becomes a problem because there's so much stuff out there I want to smoke, but I have so much stuff I have an obligation to smoke.
Yeah.
because of what I do with the media and the interview and everything. I have obligation cigars, so I got to create the content. I got to smoke, that I don't have time to smoke some stuff that I want to smoke myself. So,
Sure.
it becomes a problem, and people are like, oh, that sounds terrible problem. I go, well, it is when there's something you really,
but it is legitimately a problem. Like, again, back to me during the winter. I essentially take 4 months off of smoking cigars, and that's when some of the best deals are. So it's like, all right, well,
Chris, if I didn't have a job and I could smoke all day, more I would. But I usually get one smoke a night after work. After my kid goes to bed, I'll come out, and that's when I work on the content. I smoke what I got to smoke, and maybe on a weekend I can get 2 in, maybe on a weekend. But I got stuff sitting here that that I bought for myself that I've been trying to smoke for 6 months, and I can't get to it. It's just it's not there. And then I got brands going. Me going, yeah, I got it. Okay. I have it in the queue, so I'll smoke it this week.
Sure.
And the content will come out next week on that. So, so there's just all that work that I got to put into what I got. And it's just like, oh, it is. It's a problem.
It's a great problem, but it is also it's a problem. Man, I totally understand. Like, there's only so much time in the day.
I put out a post a couple weeks ago, and somebody goes, boy, I haven't seen that cigar since like 2022. And I go, that's how long I've had it. I've been trying to smoke it since 2022. I just finally got the chance to do it now. I finally got the chance to smoke it. I was like, yeah, I've wanted to smoke it for the last 3 years.
And that's also one of those things too. It comes down to you got to make the decision. Okay, you have this amount of time to work with. Do I smoke something I know I'm going to enjoy, something that I very much love? I love in all these different situations. I know this is going to hit absolutely perfect tonight. Or there's a whole bunch of these things over here I haven't tried yet. Do I start something new and take a little bit of a risk? It's a very difficult decision you got to make.
All these guys in the chat love my birthday show when I do my big giveaway, because most of it is all this stuff I've accumulated from brands throughout the entire year that I look, as much as I would like to keep a lot of it and smoke it for mine because they're very good cigars, they're just going to end up sitting here for years and years. So somebody might as well enjoy them. So here we go, guys. I'm making it rain. I'm making it rain stogies.
I had one of those, was it back in like 2021 or something? Somebody sent me one of those foundations, the Davids, the Perfectos. And I had that thing, and over the past, 5 years, I have tried to smoke that thing. I've got it in my dry box. I've gotten all that stuff ready, planning. Next day, I'm going to smoke it. 5 years, I went through and did not smoke that cigar. I finally got around to it the other week. I finally got around to it the other week. I was like, that was good. Why did I wait 5 years? How could this possibly happen?
Yeah, it is a fantastic cigar. They're
great.
You hurt your palate by waiting 5 years, but now you're going to be itching to have another one here soon.
You know what? I was halfway through it and just thinking to myself, like, I've been waiting 5 years to smoke this. I feel like I should get a couple more, and then bring it into the cycle. That's the nice thing about it is, like, I got down to what was it, the L'Atelier, the Côte d'Or 2019. Somebody sent me one of those in a trade. I smoked it and absolutely loved it. It was like, that's unfortunate. Who knows the next time I'll be able to get one of those. Well, on Black Friday this last year, one of the places I was getting my cigars from had that as a deal. And I was like, well, as long as I'm doing this, I'm just going to pick up, 10 of these guys. And I'll smoke them when I smoke them, or I'll hand them out to people, however the hell it works.
So, but the next time you smoke the David, you ought to buy the Goliath, and then you got to smoke them either together at once or back to back.
Which one do I lead with?
The David.
Okay.
And then you smoke the Goliath if you're going to do them back to back.
See, this gets back to the trouble, though, is like, I don't know if I have 3 hours to smoke. I do. My wife's going to be annoyed. It's going to be like, hey, come take care of the baby. Honey, I'm smoking.
It's one of those experiences that you got to do one time, where you either smoke them both together or you smoke them back to back. It's one of those experiences that you got to try one time with that, and you lead with the David and you finish with the Goliath.
Okay. I will add that to the list.
At some point, maybe 10 years from
that's
now.
Exactly the thing is, I'll add it. You know what? Even if I get them now, I can always squirrel them away. Put them into a tree like a squirrel with an acorn.
That's right. And, I just sit back and I look at everything, and, I get all my cigar, I've already got all my cigars for next week all laid out based upon what commitments I have to do. And then what I want to smoke for next week. So I've got all that all set up for what I'm going to smoke next week so that the content comes out the week after on all that stuff. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I have one day where I can smoke something I want to smoke. And now it becomes a problem. What do I want to smoke? What do I
want? Exactly. What I want? What I like?
Do I want to go with something that I really like that I haven't had in a while, or do I want to go with something new that I picked up that I wanted to try? What do I do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. Do you go with an old faithful that you're going to love, or you figure out about branching out a little bit?
Yeah, so,
it's difficult. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's. The global South is essentially what's supplying us with this problem. So,
I never thought that fermented dead plant matter would have such an adverse effect on my psyche. I don't know what to
do. Oh, life is hard. But you know what? I get into a bit of the same rut with my veneers and stuff. Like, I don't know. I've had a bunch of stuff that, sitting around in my wood shop that I've had sitting around for years at this point. Here, I'll go grab something. It's sitting around for years. I could grab it. I could use it at any point in time to make something. But at some point, it feels like, it's got to be the right thing to do. It's got to be the right project. That sort of scenario, especially like that golden wood that I had. I have an extremely limited amount of that. Probably that stuff doesn't exist anywhere else in the world ever again. So I don't want to just use it all willy-nilly. This right here, this thing's probably about the size of my arm. This thing right here probably weighs about 30 pounds, believe it or not. So this is a solid chunk of ebony. And this is of a grade and variety that you can't get imported into this country anymore. It's part of what's called the CITES list for protecting endangered woods, endangered species of things from overharvesting. So I ended up with this chunk of this stuff several years ago, and I've had it sitting around. Pardon me, excuse me. I've had it sitting around waiting for the right project for 4 years at this point, 5. And at some point it'll get used for the correct project, but I just don't know when that is. And there's a big difference between, when I was just starting out as a woodworker, one of the best pieces of advice I was given was by an older woman who was a box maker, and she said, there's no piece of wood that's too nice to use. Don't use it all willy-nilly, use it for the right project, but there's nothing that's too nice to use. I got another buddy up here in Wisconsin. He's got this piece of cherry That is absolutely gorgeous. I've seen it. It's about 10 feet long. It's got all this figure. It glows when you get it into some sunlight. It's absolutely incredible. And do you know where it is? It's in his basement because it's too nice to use.
Are you one of those guys when you go out and you just sit there and admire wood?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Wood and construction and all that sort of different stuff. Like, every once in a while you'll end up at there's a brewery here in Milwaukee that has this antique bar from probably the early 1900s or something like that. And every time I go there, I just look across the thing and just go, wow. The people who made this. The people who made this were doing this in a completely different way. Early 1900s, all hand tools. Electricity just started becoming a thing at this point. There's, you want to talk about craftsmanship. So much of what I do it's absolutely craftsmanship, but like at some point, it's like cheating. A table saw makes things a whole lot easier to do than a hand saw. And the people who were doing this before us were true artisans.
Yeah, I do it too. Like out at a restaurant or travel, I hear the soda fountain or I hear the equipment, and I immediately know there's a problem. And I'm just going, and it's like the flow rate's off on that fountain. I can hear it. I'm just
and it's all you hear. It's all you hear too.
I can hear it, or I can hear. There's a problem with that carbonator. I can hear it. That pump is bad, or the motor's going. And it's all I hear. I can't focus on anything else because now I'm annoyed. I'm like, I can fix that.
Oh, sure. I was at a restaurant with my father-in-law a few years back, and we were waiting for the table, and all the trim around the bathroom door was throughout this entire restaurant, it was all stained poorly and unsanded, and I couldn't. My wife, at the end of it, she ended up just telling me to shut up because I kept being like, "This part's wrong. This part's wrong. This looks like shit. This looks." She's like, "Nobody else is noticing this stuff. Shut up."
We went to a restaurant and they had a fountain, and they were one of the tags that we put on the fountain after we finished. And I had to, every time we go there, I had to point out, I go, like, I was still the last person that worked on this. That's how good of a job I did. Nobody else has been here. The date on that. That's 2021. 5 years.
It's
no problem.
It's incredible the kind of stuff you can become a nerd about.
It is. And it's just like nobody else has been here in 5 years to work on this. I did such a good job fixing this.
Pop back your head in the kitchen. So, how's your soda machine? Yeah. Sir, can we help you?
But it's like that. Last time I was in Vegas and they were pouring something out of a bar gun, and I go, that flow rate's off. That drink's not going to taste good. I can just tell. Like I was just hearing how that gun was pouring out. I'm like, nah, that needs to be fixed. You got to fix that.
How many in were you at that point?
I wasn't. I had nothing to drink.
Okay, good. I was going to say that'd be a bartender's nightmare. Oh, good. This guy's drunk out of his mind and he's telling me about the flow rate on my gun. Great.
Yeah, I get it. It's just like, I was just like, because we were sitting at a table smoking, and every time that bartender would pour a drink and I hear that bar gun going, I just hear how I'm like, that flow rate's too low. It's too low. It's not the right rate.
Buddy, buddy, I got a wrench on me right now. Just let me back there. 5 seconds. Come on.
I don't even have a calibration cup with me, but I can do it by I can adjust that flow rate and adjust the calibration to be almost perfect.
Again, man, it's incredible the sort of stuff you can become a nerd about.
I do that with new techs, and I'm just like, you'll get to the point where you'll calibrate, and you just know by the way that it looks and smells. And I'd show them. I'd mess up the calibration on a fountain, and then I go, okay, now put your bricks cup onto it. Now bricks, you see where we're off? And then sure. I just sit there, boom, go. I pour and put it on, and it would be almost perfect. And there's just from sight, I can just tell by the.
That's from experience.
Yeah, and
that's from experience. And that comes back to kind of what we were talking about earlier of, you know, I'm very much a believer in there's no such thing as unskilled labor.
Yeah.
You can have labor that is seen as less skilled, but there's no such thing as unskilled labor. And the people who everybody uses flipping burgers at McDonald's as an example. The person who's flipping burgers over at McDonald's has to deal with a lunch rush, and they got to be on top of that shit. They got to make sure that stuff's coming off of there hot and it's coming off of there correct. There's no damn thing such as unskilled labor. Like if anything, you know, I would say some positions that don't involve working with your hands, those right there are definitely unskilled labor. But otherwise, you know, I think a lot of people use the idea of unskilled labor to divide workers from one another. And I think that's something that we need to get past.
No, just, you know, with the zombie apocalypse coming out there, us blue collar guys, well, we'll be the survivors out there.
That's something that's a fiction. We're already dealing with something that's a reality where, you know, the people who are in charge use that to divide us from one another. And instead of focusing on a fantasy where there are zombies and such, we should be focusing on the reality where, you know, the people who are in control, who essentially without our labor do not exist, still continue to shit on us.
Yeah. Something that somebody asked me once was, if you could go back to your younger self, would you change anything about the course of the life that you're on? And I said, yeah, I would tell my 16-year-old self to drop out of high school, get my GED, and enroll into a trade school and start my journey that I'm on now sooner and earlier, instead of struggling for the last 2 years of trying to figure out where I belong, when all along you kind of knew where I belonged. I belonged doing manual labor. I belonged in that spot where I should have been, and nobody encouraged it, because everybody encouraged that you have to follow this path. But you found the right path. It just took you a little bit longer to get there. You might as well have started on that path earlier, knowing where you would be and the success that you would be by doing it. That's the one thing I would tell myself. Because I think
I get something broadly similar. Is, you know, I ended up graduating high school and going to university and stuff like that, and I'm very happy with. I had another career for about a decade, and I'm really happy with what I did. But it got to the end of it, and I ended up moving into the trades and realizing, you know, when I was a kid, I enjoyed building stuff so much and playing around with things with my hands, and then kind of dropped out of that because was going in a different direction. This is, you know, you're supposed to be doing this sort of thing. And I'm really happy to have stumbled my way back into working with my hands. It's really great.
Yeah. You know, I wish that would have been fostered earlier, you know, realizing that this is a path that you want to be on, instead of saying you have to do this, you know. I went to a community.
Yeah, you and I are the same age, so like we both heard a lot of that same stuff.
I went to community college. I got a degree in computer science, and I don't do anything with that stuff.
I want you to guess either what my degree is in or what my previous career was. Out of all the sort of different stuff.
Oh, geez.
I'll give you a hint. It's working with people.
Were you in human resources?
Nope.
Oh, thank goodness. No.
Well, you want to. Okay, so I was talking about all labor is skilled labor. Yeah, HR is often not. No, I was a kindergarten teacher for a decade.
Oh wow, you were teaching.
Yeah. I was a kindergarten teacher, and I taught over in Germany for 3 years. So I got my undergraduate in German. I got a teaching English certificate, and ended up I got a scholarship from the State Department to go over there, and ended up finding a job working there for 3 years, and really enjoyed it. When I moved back to the States, we have a German immersion school here in Milwaukee, and so I taught there for a couple of years, and then ended up getting kind of burned out, and that's when I made the switch to to working in manufacturing, and I was very happy doing the work. I really enjoyed. Yeah.
My dad was.
That was what?
My dad was a teacher. My dad was an educator for 40 years.
Hell yeah, good for him. And it's not an easy job, man. And anybody who tells you that it is a fool.
He taught middle school art and then taught high school art and ceramics. And
okay.
Then he ended the last few years of his career, he ended as being a guidance counselor, and so. But he was there, and one of his former students works for one of the big comic book companies out there, working on their graphic novels, and
Yep.
I'm out, but I was never into school. I didn't really care about it. I thought it was pointless, and I never really tried because it didn't interest me. And I think a lot of it was that there weren't teachers who got me interested in wanting to actually learn. And the classes I did well in were because they had teachers that knew how to engage students and excelled in those classes. But there are classes, it's like, nope, this is how we do it. And there's no ifs, ands, but there's got to be a different way to do it.
Well, I mean, when you start talking about the math stuff, generally one way to. But that was my teacher in high school. My German teacher in high school is responsible for both parts, like both of the careers that I've had. She's the one who introduced me to German and let me know about this scholarship thing that was out there that I eventually won. So like she's very much responsible for that, but she's also responsible for this in that one of the things that we did in my senior year was we talked a lot about early 20th century German art, and Vasily Kandinsky is one of the people who we focused on, and so that was given just how much of an impact that has had on my artistic oeuvre, so to say. Like she's very directly responsible for both of my careers, and I have met up with her before, and I since I graduated, and thanked her, and we've had breakfast a couple times, so she's great.
Good question here from Chris. Wanted to know what got you into and what's the one cigar you wish you had a humidor full of?
Oh boy. Oh Lord. That second one, I don't know. I like variety. The one cigar you wish you had humidors full of. I do like variety, so I like going back and forth and trying to pair the perfect cigar with the perfect afternoon. So that one's a really hard question for you, or for me. What got me into cigars? I enjoy hanging out in a hammock and reading, and I at some point several years ago, probably close to 20 years ago, at some point I got a cigar and was like, oh yeah, okay, I like this sort of thing. And then would have one every now and again, one a year or something. But getting back into it in a more serious manner had to probably do more with. God, man, I really don't know what got me into cigars. I don't know. I like smoking on a nice warm day, sitting down, enjoying a cigar, reading a book, or just like hanging out on a blanket in the park. Doesn't get any better than that. So, when did that happen? I'm not entirely sure.
Man, you can give me a humidor full of Padrones, any Padrone. It could be all the same. Doesn't matter. You could put me on a desert island telling me that's all I can do till the end of time, and I'd be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah. I feel very similarly about the Don Carlos. I love a good Don Carlos. They're always perfect. They're one of the ones that I generally run into the trouble of, do I try something I love or do I try something new? I could smoke a Don Carlos, or I could smoke this thing. I could smoke a Don Carlos.
I remember at Carlito's birthday party when I showed up, and he he goes, "What are you smoking?" I go, I just got here. I got to get to the humidor to find out. Go pick something up." He's like, no, don't waste your money on that overpriced stuff in there. And so he pulls up his coat pocket and he hands me a cigar. I go, "Oh, a shark. Awesome." It's just not a shark. It's a special blend that we came up with that I only bring out for my birthday, and only people who hang out with me on my birthday get one. I was like, oh, wow. So I lit that up, and then I sat next to him. I go, I get to knock something off a bucket list. I'm smoking a cigar with Carlito Fuente
on his birthday.
Yeah, and he's just engaged into asking me questions and just engaged into everything I'm saying, and I'm just like, all right, bucket list check, done.
I mean, we should all be so blessed to be so welcomed.
Well, I didn't know I was going to get pulled into that VIP section. I thought I was just going to be, in the general area where everybody else was. But, I know people who are close to him. And so I show up, and then all of a sudden I get dragged across that velvet rope there into that party. So now I'm like one of 25 people over there. And I'm just like, holy cow. And now I'm on a couch next to Carlito, and I'm smoking a cigar that he only makes for his birthday. And I'm like, okay.
I'll see if I get there someday. We'll figure it out. I don't know. Last year was pretty funny at PCA. It was the first time I've been there, and walking up and kind of having to blind introduce myself to a bunch of different people when I'm a completely unknown quantity was certainly very interesting. Some people definitely got it. And what was it? I went over to the Placencia booth to talk with somebody, and this woman stared at me like I had two heads, just like, "Why are you here?" It's like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna go. You don't give two shits. Bye. And you know what? That's not on her. Like, I'm an unknown quantity. It was just very funny.
I don't really do interviews with the big guys, but I got an email from one of the big companies out there. And so I was like, okay, you know what? I'll do it. So I show up over there, and I'm like, well, I'm scheduled at 10 o'clock. It doesn't say with who, but you guys asked me if I'd do an interview. And they're just looking at me like, we don't know who you are. I'm like, I don't know why you're wanting to do an interview on this. I'm not one of these other big guys, but I'm here to do it.
Look, here's the email.
Yeah, you asked if I wanted to do an interview. So
have you ever met Drew? Have you ever talked with him? You ever done an interview with him?
I have met him, and I have met him, and great dude. First time I met him was because I had one of my 505 caps on, and he stopped me on the floor, going 505. He goes, "You're a fan of Nicaragua?" And I go, "Well, yes," but I go, "I'm from New Mexico, and that's just the area code." And so I'm repping, where I'm from, but I'm also a fan of Nicaragua. It's my favorite tobacco. So 505 has a dual meaning. He goes, "Love it." And then like a couple of years later, he goes, "505 guy," but I didn't have any of my stuff on. And he remembered who I was. So yeah,
everybody in this industry has a whip crack memory.
I guess, and I'm like, wow,
not me. But I'll see about putting you guys in touch with each other, because he's a very interesting guy, and he's like our age, so being the fourth generation, person leading this company. One thing that really impresses me about him is that he is the one who gives the factory tours on the weekends. Like, who else is doing that? As the president of this company, he's extremely involved, and I think that's really admirable.
Have you had the Matt Booth experience yet?
I have never met Matt Booth. We have traded messages on Instagram once, possibly twice, but again, too, it's another one of those things where sending people messages and whatnot, and on Instagram as an unknown quantity is. It's very easy to get into the dustbin.
Chris just found your Instagram, and he's now in love.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you.
I've had the opportunity to have Boofy on a couple of times on the show, and I've met him, and I've been around him multiple times. And the one thing that the first time I had an interview with him, I was told by somebody who's close to him, just let him do his thing, and it'll go off the rails and pretty quickly. And I go, okay. And I expected it, but it went even further than I thought it was going to go with him because he is a different cat, and I love him for it. And I think I love how he's unapologetically him, and I love his use of the English language in his description of cigars when I'm smoking, and he goes, the whole idea behind creating this cigar was to put hair on the testicular fortitude of the cigar. And I'm like, oh,
sounds strong.
It's yeah, and I love him for that. But in Vegas, I walked in when it was at the Sands, and they had a downstairs bathroom, and so I was down there, and I was the only one in the Ben's bathroom, and there's probably 20 urinals down there. And so I'm minding my own business, and he comes right up next to me, stands right next to me, and then starts
sure
my foot. And I looked, and it was Boofy. And I go, oh, it would be you. And he goes, oh, and you gotta go. And I'm like, yeah. I go, well, I appreciate the fact that you were curious enough to want to take a peek. And he goes, it must be cold in here then, huh?
You gotta give him the Lyndon B. Johnson.
And I said, it's not cold. I just pull enough out so I don't pee on myself.
You gotta give him the Lyndon B. Johnson, man.
He had a glory hole set up to get samples at his booth one year.
That sounds about right. Yeah, that sounds about right.
He's a character. He's unapologetically him, and I love him. And but I think he's one of the greatest people that this industry has out there because he doesn't care what anybody else thinks, and he's going to do his own thing, and he's going to march at a beat of his own drum, and he's just going to continue to put out amazing quality cigars.
Ideally, that would be really nice if somebody talked about me that way. Or I guess what I mean by that is that's the kind of work that I seek to put out. That somebody will talk about me in such laudacious terms.
He said, Chris says he has a Michael Jasper humidor, and I'll end up with one of yours before not too long.
I know Michael Jasper. Oh yeah. Jamelia or Olivewood. I don't know what Jamelia is, but yeah, I've worked with Olivewood quite a bit.
Yeah, man, Jason, this was an awesome time, man. Thank you.
Two hours. Appreciate you, Dan. Thanks for sitting down. I love a good conversation with people. I feel like I've interviewed you. You've interviewed me, and hey, we'll see each other at PCA this year, right?
Yes, I will be there.
Cool. Looking forward to meeting you, man.
And I will be there with my Tuesday night raw cigar review partner Brandy, and I will be there together. So, be on the lookout. She'll be cool. She'll be the good looking one out of the both of us. And of course, if you see Michelle, I'm probably somewhere in her sphere somewhere. not
awesome.
Easy, but yes.
That's kind of the fun thing too. Is last year didn't really know anybody, but this left with a whole bunch of people that I felt very good about knowing, and just even in the past year, continuing on with those conversations, I feel like I'm going to be showing up this year with like friends to see, and that's really, really cool, man. And I'm really, really looking forward to meeting you and continuing the conversation, bro.
Of course, man. I'm sure we'll see ourselves around plenty of times out there. So looking forward to it. Thank you, everybody who hung out tonight. You all, again, amazing job. I appreciate it. Next week, the legend returns. AJ Buford, Big Country Cigars. He's got a brand new one dropping. and you're going to get the exclusive sneak peek of it here next week. So I'm really looking forward to that. So that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much, and we will all see you later. Don't do anything that Jason and I wouldn't do, because we're sweet and innocent boys. And we'll catch y'all later, everybody.